Hello, hi, salve, buongiorno. So today we are going to talk about questions that couples forget to ask when planning a wedding, specifically a destination wedding, but that they should be asking. So one of the first things that happens when couples meet with me, the number one question I hear is, how much does it cost right away? And while budget matters, the truth is there are other questions that you should be asking that will make or break your wedding abroad and the wedding experience in general that you're going to have, okay? So, for example, what's the difference between Tuscany and the Amalfi Coast? Well, for one, weather, logistics, menus, even the vibe are totally different. So what does a rain plan look like in both of those places is going to change. You know, if you're in a villa with narrow roads or boat access only, what does a load in really mean for your vendors, right? Like Como, everything is brought in by boat or barge, right? These are really important things to know. So it's really important that you understand sort of where you're planning and what you're planning, and then kind of talk about budget, because here's the reality. When you're discussing what you want to allocate towards your wedding, and you're like, okay, this is the number, and this is the number we can put towards it, that's great. And that's exactly what you want to do after you get engaged, ensure your ring, have the conversation with everyone that's going to contribute financially, and then set a budget. Once you set that budget, though, understand when you go into, and this happens everywhere, this is not just a destination wedding or a destination wedding in Italy, this is wedding planning 101. When you start researching venues in your desired city, during your desired season, with your desired, like, hopeful guest count, right? Understand that you may get back information that doesn't necessarily align with your budget. So when we onboard clients, the very first thing we tell them is we spend 2 to 3 weeks creating an estimated budget that we then send to them to look at. So they give us a budget number in mind that they want to set, that they want to stick to. They give us all different various forms of inspiration in terms of decor, aesthetic. They let us know what is a priority, a band versus a DJ or vice versa, how they want this catered, what kind of bar, where their priorities lie. We then get to work on creating a budget. Once we do that, we go back to the client, we say, okay, realistically, your budget and your wedding align. So the number you'd like to invest overall can get you the wedding you're looking for. Or the wedding that you want to produce with this guest count in this location at this time of year is going to cost a little bit more. If you do not have flexibility within the budget and the number is the number, then there's an exchange that has to happen, because in wedding planning, everything is about exchanges. So you can either cut your guest count. So if you're thinking of 100 people, maybe you have to go to 50. And that may be a harsh reality, but sometimes that happens, right? And the important thing is, if the budget is the immovable object, if it's the immovable thing in the discussion, then some of your other components need to have more flex. If, for example, budget has some flex to it, then some of those other things can stay a little more immovable, if that makes sense, okay? So another really important thing to talk about. Why does a rain plan matter abroad, and what does it look like abroad, okay? So rain plans are penultimately, is that even a word? I don't know, but I'm making it up. Penultimately important. Why? Because weather is not always with you. Places like Lake Como can have weather. All throughout Italy, you can experience weather, especially depending on when you're getting married. So if you're getting married in the spring, if you're waiting and pushing a little bit till fall, because the season in Italy now is growing, right? So it's not just May, June, July, August, right? It's now September, October, maybe even into November, depending, and it might even be before May, depending on where you are, right? And that can mean rain. And so you really want to know what your rain plan is, and you want to make sure that you love it, because you may have to utilize it, and it may be a very small room. It may have low ceilings. If you don't love it, then don't pick that venue. You really need to make sure that you love that plan so that you're feeling comfortable regardless of what comes your way on the wedding day. Because even though planners plan for everything, we can't control the weather, at least not yet. All right, so next thing to talk about, bar packages. This is something you want to ask when you're planning a wedding in Italy. They are not always structured the same way as an American wedding. What does that mean? So you go to an American wedding, most of you will kind of fly through this example with me that I'm about to illustrate. You walk in, there's after ceremony. You walk in, there's a cocktail hour, there's a bar, you go to the bar, you grab a drink. Maybe you see a specialty bar, maybe a specialty cocktail, whatever the case may be. It's a spritz bar, whatever. You see a lot of that in Italy too. But the difference between what you see in the States and Italy kind of comes down to this. Open bar in the States is considered something different than it is in Italy. And oftentimes, caterers They focus on food, and you have to bring in a different service to do bar services and bar package. If you're at a hotel, for example, and we've experienced this, they estimate not just open bar and you get X amount of alcohol available to you from this hour to this hour. They actually make you estimate the amount of drinks per person your guests will consume. So there's a lot to know when you're navigating all of these things that, like someone like us who has planned in Italy for many, many years, who's fluent in the language, who definitely understands the culture, can bring you through a lot more quickly, which I think is really important. So always ask, what does open bar actually look like? Okay, another one that's really big, food. And I've mentioned this before, Italian cuisine is not the same everywhere. Menus change by region, by season, and by tradition. So what you serve in Sicily is not necessarily what you're going to see in Florence. Okay, what you serve in Palermo may not be what you see in Taormina, and we're still on the island of Sicily for both of those, just to give you like a very micro example. Asking these kinds of questions is important because it can actually make the difference between a smooth, thoughtful wedding planning process and the alternative, which logistically can kind of be, let's just say less pleasant, I don't want to say nightmare because I hate saying that word, but when you are planning abroad, don't just ask how much it costs. Ask the questions that truly shape the guest experience, because that will shape the cost, right? And maybe let me know in the comments below, what is one question that you'd want answered before planning your wedding abroad? And I will let you know, based on the questions, I'll let you know the answers. And then while you're down there commenting, if you can like and subscribe, that would be great, because we love what we do. We love bringing you all of this content. So feel free to like, subscribe, share all of the things. And when you're ready to plan abroad, you know where to find us to make your wedding come to life. Ciao.